Hello my friends, I'm Operator Starsky and today we'll check out the recent updates from Ukraine as well as breaking news from Russia. The biggest terror Russian airline Aeroflot has collapsed after a daring cyber attack on its network. Russian invaders failing in Sumy but increasing mechanized attacks around Kostiantynivka-Pokrovsk, Toretsk and Siversk. Belarusian KGB agent arrested in Ukraine. Russian drones terrorize Lithuania, the Russian invaders recording themselves being sent to the front lines on crutches again. You're watching the Frontline Focus. Let's roll. Over the past 48 hours, Russian forces launched a reinforced company-sized mechanized assault northeast of Siversk. Geolocated footage from July 27th shows one of these attacks in action. According to Ukrainian sources, the assault involved roughly 80 vehicles, including 6 tanks, a handful of armored personnel carriers and MTLBs, motorcycles, buggies, golf carts, and several civilian vehicles. Despite this force, Ukrainian defenders repelled this attack. However, sources report that Russian troops have pushed to within a few kilometers of Siversk, raising concerns that they may attempt more direct assaults on the town very soon. These recent terror-Russian attacks signaled that the Russian invaders appear to be moving away from their winter period tactics, involving massive meat assaults and redeploying armored vehicles more frequently in tactical engagements. Apparently, the Russian superpower managed to accumulate enough golf carts and scooters on the span of the front line and attempted to develop an offensive. These changes suggest that Moscow is escalating its efforts around Siversk, but still only advancing slowly and grinding forward incrementally. Apart from Siversk, other engagements in late July reflect continuing Russian pressure. Different footage shows intensive combat activity, for example, west and northwest of Toretsk. However, these advances remain limited in scope. Typically, we're talking about platoon to company level operations and not large breakthroughs. It seems that the Russia's leadership has reaffirmed its broader political objectives. They remain committed to forcing Ukraine's full capitulation and don't seem to be interested in peace negotiations whatsoever. At the same time, on the battlefield, the Russian pace remains slow and attritional, with little strategic impact so far. We can also see that the Russian terrorists are getting slowly pushed out of Sumy, lacking enough vehicles and equipment to continue their offensive operations in this area. At least this is what we can observe at this point. Last night, someone sent a little gift to the Volgograd oil depot. Locals heard a few bangs, saw flames, and the usual black smoke that can be seen pretty often all around Russia these days. Russian officials claimed that they have shot down all the drones, which is kinda odd because the depot still caught fire. For context, it's not the first time the Volgograd has been lit up, because we know that good Ukrainian drones hit it back in January and February this year. Now, we're talking a lot about Russian FSB recruiting Ukrainian teenagers as suicide bombers. However, this time the Security Service of Ukraine arrested a Belarusian KGB agent snooping around Ukraine's northern border in Volyn. This dude volunteered to monitor Ukrainian checkpoints and troop disposition, and even tagging geolocations in Google Maps for Minsk. It's really interesting, but not surprising at all that the Belarusian terrorists are now actively involved in gathering military intel on Ukraine. Generally, Belarus raises a lot of concerns. For example, earlier today at approximately 5 a.m. local time, a Gerbera-like drone was seen flying at about 200 meters last tracked near Vilnius in Lithuania. It was reported that the drone came from the Belarusian territory and vanished from radars. Luckily, crashed somewhere nearby. Officials stressed that they haven't confirmed the drone type yet, but still a repeat of past incidents suggests that it could be a Russian Gerbera drone, especially since one confirmed Gerbera crashed in Lithuanian airspace back on July 10 after crossing from Belarus. If it was another Gerbera, it reinforces concerns about drones either drifting or being sent into NATO airspace from Belarus. It seems that we will be seeing more incidents like that because the Russian terrorists expanded their production of kamikaze drones in Alabuga. That special economic zone in Tatarstan just doubled its facilities since 2023. The reports indicate that the Russian terrorists are staffing this drone factory with students, some as young as 14 or 15, as well as foreign recruits, especially women from Africa, or so-called work/study deals that turned out to be drone assembly jobs. And switching to today's headliner, the Russia's Aeroflot's IT systems collapsed. Its website, online and offline booking, even ticket offices stopped working completely. The airline scrambled to cancel or reschedule nearly 50 flights out of Sheremetyevo. The frustrated passengers were stuck in terminals, baggage halls, or stranded with no help whatsoever. The hacker group Silent Crow, backed by the Belarusian cyber partisans, stepped up and said, yep, that was us. They boasted of infiltrating Aeroflot's network for over a year and then taking down about 7,000 physical and virtual servers and stealing around 20 terabytes of data that included flight logs, employee emails, surveillance recordings, and other critical information. Kremlin spokesman, the Mustachio Man Dmitry Peskov, called the situation quite alarming, apparently because when the terrorist federation attacks infrastructure around the globe, there is a high chance that the terror Russian forces will receive a painful backfire. It seems that the Belarusian hackers infiltrated the core systems. They claim to have control over executive PCs and even phone call recordings. If verified, this strikes at the heart of state aviation. Recovery could cost Russian terrorists tens of millions of dollars and take months. Strategic damage is also absolutely enormous because Russia's first airline just got its network shredded by pro-Ukrainian hackers, which again signals that if your country is involved in the war of aggression against the civilized world, apparently it's not the best time to fly to Hurghada. Stay home and enjoy the fireworks. The wounded Russian invaders recorded a video showing them being sent to the front lines with crutches and canes. Some of those individuals look pretty young and obviously desperate. They're filming this not just to complain, but to make sure that the world sees this video before they get vaporized in some traditional Russian meat wave near Chasiv Yar. But then, when you've burned through every able-bodied convict, drunk and chess club dropout, I guess anyone vertical qualifies as combat ready in the terror Russian army. And with that, my dear friends and family, I wish you all a beautiful day. Please subscribe to stay informed about the most important updates and share this content to help Ukraine be heard. I'll see you in the comments. I'm Operator Starsky. As always, be safe.